Laura, do you want to go ahead with the choosing the order? Yes. I have been asked to remind you that there's no personal videography. While Laura does that, I would just like to thank everyone for organizing this event. It occurred to me as I got ready to come here today that, in days gone by, communities got together and people came and really knew each other, understood what was happening in our communities. And I really do think perhaps this will be the first of events to happen in future years. I really do think it's a very important part of what's going on in just our locality, but across the nation, for people to be more involved in understanding those who govern us. And I want to thank everyone for the candidates, first of all, for being here, and then also to the residents who went ahead and either emailed questions in or filled out 3x5 cards. If there are any other 3x5 cards, if you could please get those over here now. As it is, I hate to say this, but I think given the time allotted, I'm not sure I'm going to get through all of them this evening, but we'll absolutely do the best we can, for sure. And like probably so many other folks, after doing leaves all weekend, I just hope that my voice holds up for the next 2 hours. Do. It is 2 minutes to 5. If I can please ask everyone to rise so that we can say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Laura has gone down, and all of the candidates have drawn numbers. We're going to, in the opening, the person has one, this person's going to go first, and then at the closing statement, they will reverse the order of that. And I'm going to be very, very firm with the number of candidates that we have here. I think you've all been told 3 minutes for your opening statements, just keeping time over here. And given the fact that we have so many candidates, we want to get through it and have questions. We really have to stick to the timekeeping. And feel free, if you want to do less than 3 minutes, feel free to do so. You are ready. It is 5 o'clock. Who is number 1? Frank. Introduce yourself, please.
situation. I'd like to thank Laura for putting this together. I think it's a very good forum. Usually when we have candidates nights in the past, the only people that showed up were the candidates and their immediate families. So I'm glad to see we have a pretty good turnout. One of the questions I was asked when I started it, how come I'm running? And I think I'll go through the scenario. Number one, back in March, Judge David Sears came to my house for conservative petitions. And we started talking about the problems we have. And I said to him, why can't somebody step up to the plate and run? And he said, we have scoured, we have looked, nobody wants to do it. So I said to him, I said, listen, I would consider a candidacy if the Democrats wanted to endorse it. So he said, listen, I'll go to the Democratic Committee and I'll ask them if they would be willing to do that. And he did, and they were willing to do it. They did a fantastic job. They went out and got signatures for me. I got signatures for the conservatives, and I had nobody going through Trish Prunty to get the IND petitions. Then I started my campaign. On June 25th, I won both the independents and the conservative primaries. So now I'm on row A, C, I thought it was D, but it turns out it's I. And that's how it came about. The problems we have surfaced, the first indications of the problems was when Janet Gross resigned last November. Janet Gross is a friend of mine. Her husband, Gary, his father, his grandfather, fished on my property in the 50s, and 60s, and 70s, and 80s. Matter of fact, Gary's grandfather ran one of the biggest brown trout I've ever caught out of water juice. So anyway, I called Janet up, and I said, Janet, what's going on? She said, that's a good question, because I don't know what's going on. I am completely frustrated. I was going to lose my temper, so I figured instead of embarrassing myself, I would resign. I said, well, I'm sorry you did. You really should have stayed on. You were elected before your term. You should have fulfilled it.
30 seconds left.
Okay. So anyway, make a long story short, if she had known, nobody knew that I would be running it back in November. If Janet had known that, I think she would have stuck it out. But I did. Well, nobody knew that at that time. That's it.
Thank you. Who has 3? In case you're wondering, we have one candidate not here, so there is no 2.
I'm Mark Figliozzi. I'm the current city supervisor for the town of Pleasant Valley. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you and to go over my record over the past 4 years. I'm the first supervisor in 16 years to be reelected to this job, and that's one of the problems that has troubled Pleasant Valley in the past is the lack of continuity from administration to administration. It's very important in government to have at least a little bit of continuity because nothing can get done in government really in 2 years. Over the past 3.5 years, I've worked to address the deficiencies and produce comprehensive developments for the town of Pleasant Valley. When I first took office in 2016, the salt shed became a major issue. It was a light winter. We were going to lose potentially $45,000 worth of salt because you have to take it by a certain date or you lose it. The little round salt shed didn't handle it. We talked to the engineers. They told us it was a $750,000 project. I asked them if we were building a town hall or a salt shed. Through close monitoring, efficiency of operations, we were able to bring that in $350,000 under the estimate. I obtained a $50,000 grant, so it came in at $357,000, thus saving the taxpayers over $400,000. The money was in the bank, we paid for it, no loans. FEMA, when I first took office again in 2016, we were being hounded apparently for the past 4 years to produce documents relating to the flood that happened many years before. Those documents, we looked and looked, couldn't find any documents. We might have lost $38,000 with FEMA. I negotiated with FEMA, adding a small fence to Katie Field. We were able to retain that money and not have to return back $38,000. Grants. I I instituted an extremely aggressive grant writing program. We brought in $1.3 million in grants. Efficiencies. We've looked at every department, every dollar that we spent. We've done $500,000 in efficiencies in the past 3 years. Recreation, Field 2 was refurbished. It even has Long Island clay. We built a storage shed for the equipment to protect it. This year, or next year, what we're going to do another field and hopefully be able to refurbish the basketball courts. DOT, we're getting intelligent traffic lights here. That was requested a couple years back by me. It was put on the East Dale project for us. Winter Storm Stella, we worked very hard with FEMA and with New York, with Dutchess County to get back approximately 95% of the almost $65,000 that the first 2 days of those storms took. I thank you for this opportunity. I believe my time is up.
4 seconds.
4, please.
That's all. What's the money?
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ken Luby. I am running for the position of Highway Superintendent. Some of my goals to obtain while I'm in the position of Highway Superintendent is to create a 5-year plan for road repair and maintenance throughout Pleasant Valley. We'll work towards obtaining grants for needed equipment. I will also implement education for highway employees. Some of the areas for the education is road maintenance, storm drains. I'm looking forward to working with the employees of the Pleasant Valley and residents of Pleasant Valley. If it wasn't for the employees of the highway department, we wouldn't have the best roads in Dutchess County. I look to try to keep us having the best roads in Dutchess County. I know there's big shoes that I gotta fill, and I'm willing to, I'm honored to take that challenge to meet the goals of the community. If elected, I will always be available for any questions or concerns that the residents may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Frank Mazzella. My wife and I, we own the print shop in town. And the reason I'm running is because of a little boy that I think went to go play with one of his friends out in the hall. My son is really my world, and there he is. And he's really the reason I'm running. Things in Pleasant Valley are really not where they need to be for families my age, my size. I'm running as a proponent to recreation, to help reform recreation, so we have the programs that our youth needs for the next generation. I'm running to really be a watchdog. As a small business owner, we're currently meeting budgets, getting projects done on time. We're really no different than how the town board currently functions. So as far as I'm concerned, I feel that I'm a great fit for the job, and hopefully with some of these questions tonight, you'll be able to realize why you should, or why I'm asking for your vote on November 5th. So thank you all for coming.
Number 6.
Testing. Sounds you're all right? Howdy folks, my name is Ranald Adams. I'm running for County Legislature, District 2, which covers the western portion of Pleasant Valley, as well as part of Ward 3, Town of Poughkeepsie. I'm running on the issue of standard of living. Standard of living defined broadly not just as what sort of refrigerator you have or what goods you have at home, but also what is the kind of life you're living in Dutchess County. Issues of mental health, where so many people in Dutchess County are struggling with depression, anxiety, opiate addiction. We're one of the few counties in New York State that has seen an increase in opioid-related deaths. Issues like the environment. You can't talk about standard of living without talking about the environment in which you live. Dutchess County, one of its great assets is the natural beauty hiking trails, fishing, agriculture, all these different things that make Dutchess County such a great place to live. Standard of living, jobs, the economy, which ties into mental health because one of the leading indicators for mental health is economic deprivation. So I'm looking at all of these things as a unified problem, as a set of problems that you can't just pick apart. You can't just say, I have a policy on mental health. I have a policy on the economy. I have a policy on the environment or on animal cruelty or any of these other things. You have to look at them as they fit together, as a system that we all live in. So that's why I could really use your support Tuesday, November 5th, and I hope that you will elect me your Dutchess County legislator for District 2. Thank you.
Number 7.
Hello, everybody. My name is Beth Muir. I'm running for re-election to the town clerk seat. I was elected in November 2018 to fill the seat, and now I'm running for re-election to fill the term. I have been your prior deputy town clerk, your deputy tax collector, and registrar of vital statistics. I have 10 years of banking experience. I started the military active wall in the town hall for our local servicemen and women. There are now 21 pictures on that wall. Started the Helping Tree 3 years ago to provide Christmas trees and trimmings to all the underprivileged Pleasant Valley residents who cannot afford these luxuries. With a generous donation from the Pleasant Valley Firehouse, who donates the trees, and from Miss Jean Albrecht, who provides homemade mittens and scarves to these families also. I'm a 4-year volunteer for Earth Day and Town Road Cleanup, and I'm also a licensed notary, which I do offer this service for free. In 2018, my office was the winner of the Community Conservation Award. It was in recognition and promotion of the New York State Habitat sales for hunting licenses through the Federation Dutchess County Fish and Game. My office came in 4th place in New York State, and we became 1st place in Dutchess County. Right now, we are running 1st in New York State. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. And I also am a member of the New York State Town Clerks Association. I just want to say, I've always felt that the town clerk's office is the heart of the town. It is the first office everyone sees when they walk into the building, and my goal is to treat everyone with respect and to service all. Thank you.
I want to back up because Mr. Vasti was number 2 and he was late getting up from New York City. You guys running the marathon?
Not with this team. Thank you, everyone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So good evening. As one of you 2 judges, I have the good fortune of not being opposed this year. I do want to thank everyone for your continuing support. It has been an honor and remains an honor to serve all of you in this town. As many of you know, I have grown up here, born here, now have my children who are 4th generation here in Pleasant Valley. My law office is here in town. I was appointed in May of 2015, subsequently ran, now seeking re-election. This has been an enormous challenge over the past 4.5 years. The volume of work that has come into this town is extraordinary. It has been very fulfilling and great. I have found the staff, the people I work with, my co-judge, Judge Sears, to be the utmost professionals. I think I would like to say to all of you that we work very hard in many ways that you don't see to serve you, especially late at night at some of the very arraignment calls that come in from all over the county. The town court is one of those things that you hope you never have to go in and see us, but we are there, and the volume of work from our district attorneys on criminal nights, our traffic nights, is very, very high. I'm sure I'll have an opportunity to talk to you about some of the needs that we have, but it is my distinct privilege to continue to serve you, and I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Who's number 8?
Hi, good evening. So forgive me for my nervousness. My name is Susan Tucker, I'm running for town board. So I'm a nurse, a nurse practitioner. Do you mind if I sit? Because I'm much better sitting. Sorry. I'm a single mom, raised kids in Pleasant Valley, with 3 kids and myself through college as a working mom. So I work in healthcare and clinical hands-on. I've had leadership roles in administration, supervision, managers. I've also been part of a family business here in Pleasant Valley. So I have an idea about the financial responsibilities and what it's like to raise a family running a business here in Pleasant Valley. I've been in leadership roles in magnet status councils, high-risk domestic violence committees, labor councils, and executive labor councils, and I served on the recreation committee here in the past. The things that would not happen under my term is employee lawsuits, especially for hostile work environments, a lawsuit for inappropriate and harmful statements made to stakeholders and business people in the community. In 2016, the board went over the New York State cap, and none of us got our rebates, our star rebates, over $28,000 that they could have managed when they had over $1 million in a fund. That would never happen. There should be no oppression of citizens' views and opinions. When I go to the town hall meetings, there's no opportunity for me to have my say, and that needs to stop. There'll be no backdoor deals. There'll be no talking about how to get the water system through without speaking directly to the residents that are involved with it and affected by it. And there'll never be a denial of information. I've 3 times foiled requests for the application, the grant application for the town hall, and 3 times I've been denied. The supervisor has told me that I don't have the right title. I've asked what the right title is. He said he's not telling me. I've reported this to another board member, and he said he would look into it. Still no information. The things that would happen under my watch: open, honest, transparency, opportunity to listen to concerns, always provide accurate information, and an opportunity for residents to discuss it and be educated. We would video town hall meetings. We would review the budget and know where our money's coming in and where it's going out. We would also know the consequences of any financial changes that are made. I went to a town hall meeting, they made personnel changes, they didn't know the financial consequences. My goals are fiscal responsibility, employee satisfaction, and open and transparent discussions for this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for coming tonight. Sundays are dinner and families, and thank you.
Number 9, please. You're number 9?
Hello, my name is Stephen Latino. I'm a current sitting board member. I was appointed in 2019, so I'm new to the board. This time around, I previously served on the board in 2014 and 2015. I was appointed in 2014. The vacancy was created when Carol Kennedy was sitting in front of me. She was elevated to town supervisor, left a vacancy on the board. I filled that seat and then ran to fulfill the unexpired term of that seat and was elected to the position. When I came back in 2019 at the request of the current board, and have been on the board since January 2019. I'm married to my wife, Kari. I have 2 boys, Charlie and Tristan, who are in the high school and active in the school plays. And I'm an attorney. I'm a labor and employment attorney. I'm a partner in a firm in Poughkeepsie. So I work locally and I commute locally. I'm aware of the traffic on 44 and I'm encouraged by the intelligent traffic signals that we have, that we will be getting probably in about 2 years. And the reason why I came back to the board is I do think that I have something to offer. My experience as a labor and employment attorney, I negotiated union contracts. I participated in the bargaining of the back in 2014, 2015 of the highway department workers, starting the groundwork for a fair contract for our employees, as well as one that's responsible to our town, it was cost effective. I laid that groundwork. I left before it was finished, but I did help with the negotiations, and they were eventually had a successful conclusion. I believe also that my experience as an attorney will help with resolving some of the complex legal issues and personnel issues affecting the town, or complex issues involving union contracts or issues involving personnel matters. I believe that my expertise can help our board successfully get through those existing challenges. I also came back to the board because I believe that the projects that have been started prior to my arrival are important to continue. I believe in our town that the town's water program is one that is cost effective for our citizens, one that is much needed. It was started by Penny Hickman. It was a dream a long time ago that never got started. I would like us to continue that program and would fully support it. It is important to the vitality of our town and to have a successful businesses that can actually function and operate and to attract new businesses in our town. I support the new town hall, and I want to see that project come to its completion and make sure that we move in successfully. Our old town hall simply does not work. It's in a flood zone. We pay $20,000 in flood insurance. We cannot continue to operate that successfully. The court is not safe. It fails its safety audits. We have fantastic judges. People come to our courts because of the judges that we have and how competent and good they are. So we have a lot of traffic in that court, and it's time for it to be safe for our residents. It needs to be changed. Thank you.
And who's number 10? So I ask you to hold the mic right up to you when you talk. I know people in the back are having difficulty hearing, and we cannot get this to turn up any higher than it already is.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Keith O'Hanlon. I'm a Republican and conservative candidate for town councilman. I've been a Pleasant Valley resident for 20 years. I raised 2 daughters here as a single dad. Got them through college on a diesel mechanic's pay with no debt, no student loans. They both have successful careers now. I've been very active in Veterans Affairs for the past 6-7 years. I can't brag about a record as a town councilman because I haven't had a chance to serve yet, but I've accomplished an awful lot here in the county, helping out my brother and sister vets. Initially, about 6 years ago, I was appointed to the Dutchess County Legislatures and the County Executive's Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee. I branched out from there, meeting with a vet that I was also on the committee. We started what started out as a support group because we didn't have vet-to-vet funding in Dutchess County yet. And what started out as a few vets getting together at the Pleasant Valley Town Hall once a month for coffee and gripes and getting things off their chests, we evolved that into the Hudson Valley Veterans Alliance, which is now the only 501c3 that's up and operating in the county to help out veterans in need. We're getting vets off the streets that are homeless. We're keeping vets from being thrown out of their apartments because they're 6 months behind on rent and they're mentally ill and they can't hold the job. We're covering a lot of bases. And we're managing to do it on a shoestring budget. I also am now the chairman of State Senator Susczynski's Veterans Affairs Advisory Board. And within the first couple of weeks of me becoming chair, I took it seriously. I went to Nelson Rivera. He was the director of Veteran Services for the county at the time. And I said, Nelson, why don't we have funding for the PFC Dwyer Vet-to-Vet program? We've got 20,000 vets in this county. He said, oh, the county doesn't want it, and we can't get that funding anyway. You're beating a dead horse, Keith. I said, really? So I picked up my cell phone, I called Senator Serino, had a chat with her about it. 3 weeks later, we had the grant. I'm a United States Marine, and I'm proud of that, because you know what? Marines get things done. And that's why my brothers and sisters on the Republican committee came and asked me to run this year. They know that I get things done. They know that I am brutally honest to the point of, yes, I will offend some people at times, but you know what? I'll tell you the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 11, please.
It's fine. Good evening. I'm Don Sagliano. I'm your current county legislator for District 2, which is the western portion of the town of Pleasant Valley and a small section of the town of Poughkeepsie.
You're good.
Okay. So I've been the legislator for the last 6 years. Prior to that, I served on the town board for 7 years. Prior to that, I was on the zoning board of appeals as an alternate. How did that all start? It all started because I decided to start attending town board meetings. I attended town board meetings, I gained an interest, I learned about what was going on in the town. I would say after about a year or so, Mr. Vasti down at the end of the table was a current councilman at the time. I was appointed as an alternate to the zoning board of appeals. As an alternate to the ZBA, I saw a lot of stuff, things that were happening. At one point, there was never a full quorum on the zoning board of appeals. I think it's something that still happens today, where there's not enough people available to fill these town board appointed seats. The zoning board, the planning board, are always looking for interested people, and that's what it takes in a town. It takes interested people. I've lived here in Pleasant Valley for 25 years. I know the district, the legislative district, well. I've worked in the legislative district for 25 years. I live here with my wife and my daughter and our 4 dogs. I've been very interested and very active in the community from many aspects: the library, fire district events, Lions events, school events. I'm very active in my church. One of the main things that I do within the church is I'm a youth mentor at the Freedom Plains Church. And for the last 15 years, we've taken a group of young adults down to Appalachia for a week to experience real poverty. So I know what it is like to see that transition of the youth, and it's very important. And I hold it very dear, and it's something that I take a lot of pride in. I'm also a certified public accountant in New York State. I sit in the Republican caucus of the Dutchess County Legislature. The most important thing we do there is we work with all 24 other legislators. I see I have 30 seconds left. I really would just like to thank everybody that took the time out of their busy Sunday to come. It's very warming to see this many people interested in the operation of government and things that occur. And when I have my closing statement, I'll go over some more things. But anyway, I just wanted to introduce myself to you, and I appreciate the effort that you all are putting in by attending.
Thank you, Don. Number 12, please.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank the Pleasant Valley Community Network for hosting this forum tonight for the candidates. It's important to all the voters to get a chance to meet your elected officials and candidates so you can make an informed vote. My name is Deirdre Houston. I am currently the county legislator for District 25. District 25 encompasses a portion of Pleasant Valley. Mostly it's election District 5 and 7, which you probably don't know what they are, but it's the eastern side of Pleasant Valley. All of town of Washington, including Millbrook, and the town of Amenia with the hamlet of Wassaic. So I'm here tonight to represent the portion of Pleasant Valley that I represent currently. To tell you about myself, I am a small business owner. I own a flower shop in Millbrook. I live in the district and I work in the district. I am a wife. I'm a mother of 2 adult children. I know the impact of community. I know my community very well. I currently serve as a legislator, and I sit on a couple committees. I sit on the Veterans Affairs Committee with my friend Keith O'Hanlon. I serve as the vice chair of the Family and Human Services Committee, and I also serve on the Government Services Committee. All important jobs on the legislature. And additionally, I currently serve on the Dutchess Community College Board of Trustees as a liaison to the legislature, and I serve on the Master Parks Committee for the county, and I'm proud to have been a part of the largest expansion of county parks in county history this year. I am involved with the legislature on many other things. I also sit on the Dutchess County Cornell Cooperative Extension Board. I co-sponsored the Right to Farm bill, which allows our farmers to continue the important work they do in the district. Other things we've done this year with the legislature is we've had ethics reform. We will have, thank you, we will have independent redistricting, which I was proud to co-sponsor, along with term limits for all countywide elected officials, serving a maximum of 12 years. We've also introduced an animal rights bill that's been very public and touted, and we're very proud of that in the legislature. And I'm mostly proud that I can serve with all of my colleagues on the legislature, all 24 of us, 25 of us working together to make sure that we are doing the best for the county, regardless of political affiliation and political party. So I will ask again in my closing statement, but I ask for your vote and your support when you go to the polls. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre. Number 13, please.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Wendy McCarthy. I'm a resident of Pleasant Valley. I'm also seeking the position for Dutchess County Legislator for District 25. My main concerns are about our environment, our drinking water, the air we breathe, and safety, and maintaining our farmlands and open spaces and jobs for our community. I work at the Millbrook Golf and Tennis, so I have management skills, and I feel that I have great people skills, and I'm a good listener and a good problem solver, and I just feel that we need fresh ideas in our government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 14, please.
No, I'm not standing. I'm not sure my legs would hold me right now. Mary Albrecht, I am running to complete an unexpired term that was left open by Nick Becker, which means I'll be running for a 2-year stint instead of 4. One of the things in the short time that I'm gonna have to try to do is I'd like to set up committees for every department within the town hall, which do not exist right now, and other outside projects, because we have a lot of talented residents that can give us a lot of good information. I would like to make sure that all employees are well trained, and if they need help, I would like to get it for them. Making sure all our employees are treated with the respect they deserve. Employees are our best asset to get things done. Micromanaging does not work, so I would like to make sure that they all have a voice. Our parks are in desperate need of care. That is another part that I would like to try to undertake along with the rec director and see if we can get them up to par and up to code. The Richard Branson, who is, I believe, the owner of one of the airlines, right? Yeah. He claims that training people well enough so that they can leave, but treating them well enough so they don't want to. That is one of the things I would like to see. I've seen too many people come and go so far. So in my short time, I would like to also get to know as many people here as would like to come and talk to me, and I would be able to, you know, hopefully work with you on projects in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 15, please.
Good evening, I'm David Sears. I want to thank Laura and the Pleasant Valley Community Network for giving us this opportunity. I've been honored to serve as your town judge for the last 8 years, and I find I believe it'd be a privilege that I'll be able to serve for another 4 years. It's often said that the town courts are the courts that are closest to the people. And of course, most of us don't want to find our way to court, but if you do, you're going to find yourself likely in a town or a village court in the state. We as judges in the town courts handle things such as traffic violations, evictions, small claims, misdemeanors, including driving while intoxicated, and misdemeanor drug offenses. We also handle major felony cases. We're the first court to handle a major felony case, including murder and bank robbery and things of that nature. We handle, as Judge Vasti alluded to, arraignments on a 24/7 basis. And in any given month, when I'm on call, I'll handle more than 8 after-hour arraignments, middle of the night, early morning, that sort of thing. And as Judge Vasti alluded, our town court is the 4th busiest town or village court in all of Dutchess County. It takes fairly unique skills to handle as busy a court as we have. My qualifications to handle such a busy court include my 30 years as a trial lawyer, but I was also previously had served as a social worker, a probation officer, and a parole officer. And that unique experience, I believe, makes me a perfect fit and makes me a better judge. As a judge, I've had many of my decisions published in the New York Official Reporter. It's a big thing for trial judges. You might not think so, but I think it's kind of cool. I've been recognized as the Dutchess County Magistrate of the Year in 2016. I am routinely selected as a judge to the Dutchess County High School mock trial competition. I actually handle the semifinals every year, and it's kind of a great experience for me. We use our courtroom here in Pleasant Valley. The kids from high schools come in and compete. I was selected as one of the judges, and I've been doing it for many years, and it's an exciting time for me. I also have been selected to provide annual training to other judges throughout the state. Our chief administrative judge has appointed me as an acting Poughkeepsie City Court judge, and I'm also a mentor to new judges. Although it's been an honor to be recognized by the judicial and legal community, I've always felt it's been a bigger honor to serve as the Pleasant Valley Town Judge in an area where I have worked or lived for the last 30 years. Thank you.
Number 16, please.
Good evening. Is this thing on? It is now, thank you. Good evening, I'm John Baxter, runner for Highway Superintendent. First I'd like to thank Laura and Tom for putting this on for us tonight. Thank you very much, and thank you for your attendance. My whole thing with being here tonight started about 3 years ago. My journey started, and I was having a conversation with the current Highway Superintendent, Butch Gardner. Many of you know him as Kurt. He told me he was looking to retire. I told him, well, I might be interested in running for the position. Had several conversations with Mr. Gardner over the course of, 4 or 5 months, and decided that's what I was going to do, run for the highway superintendent. Seemed like a good fit. Then came the hard part, and it was the conversation with my wife, explaining to her that I wanted to run for highway superintendent, but in order to do that, I felt like I needed to work for the town highway department first. Kind of get my feet on the ground, see what it was all about. And that was going to come at a significant pay decrease from the job I was currently doing, which was, I was a foreman and supervisor for LCS in Poughkeepsie. So that being said, after those several conversations, some of them were quite interesting, as you can imagine, I talked to Butch and decided that's what we were going to do. He had a position open, so I took it. So kind of fast forward 2.5 years where I am now. I worked for the town highway department just about 2.5 years now. I've seen the ins and outs, what goes on. Butch has shown me a lot of things on, how the highway department works and what happens. I've also got, on the ground experience, boots on the ground experience. I have a background in working in the highway. I've been in and around the construction business most of my life. I was a small business owner myself for 15 years. I feel that as highway superintendent, I can hit the ground running, make it a seamless transition from one supervisor or superintendent to the next, excuse me. Let's see, I got some other notes here. One of the big things I'd like to try to do as the highway superintendent, try to move some things into the 20th, 21st generation. We can update some things with computers and filing, as well as some of the things in our shop that need to be updated and improved so that we can better take care of our roads more efficiently, and which in turn will help save our taxpayers some money. And also like to stay underneath that 2% pay cap that one of my other colleagues was talking about, so we can continue to get that reimbursement from the government every year, which is kind of nice. I will leave it at that. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Number 17.
Good evening. My name is Mike Rifenburgh. I'm an independent running for the town board here in Pleasant Valley. For those of you who haven't met me over the last 2 months or know me, I grew up here in Pleasant Valley. I've called Pleasant Valley home for most of my life. I'm the 4th generation of my family that's lived in Pleasant Valley. I'm a pilot for JetBlue. I get to do my hobby that I loved every day. The good thing about that is it allowed me the chance to travel all over the country and go to a lot of small towns just like here in Pleasant Valley. It's given me a lot of ideas, and it's opened my eyes and realized that Pleasant Valley has so much potential. I feel like a lot of the time, politics and local government get in the way. I'm the only person standing up here tonight who's not affiliated with either major party. I think it's time for the residents of Pleasant Valley to have somebody to actually represent the residents and not a political party's agenda. I think my wife and I purchased our home here about 1.5 years ago. I think we have a long ways to go in the recreational department. We have to maintain our parks and make it safe for our residents that currently live here. I think there's one of the big issues is we lost our sense of community within our town because everybody has to go to another town to do anything. So you and I never actually get to meet each other unless it's Pleasant Valley weekend once a year, or maybe if I decide to just say hello to you at Acme. But we have to get away from the bedroom community philosophy of just sleeping here and then going to other towns to do stuff. I'd like to see a reinvestment in our town. It's not going to happen overnight. I think I don't have all the answers to how to fix this. What I do know is that we can go to other towns who have proven this model that they can provide good activities, talk to them, see what they did correctly, see where they made mistakes, and we can come up with a plan here in town, and there's no reason why we can't be in 5 years have good facilities and recreational activities for us. I also believe we don't have good transparency in this town. If you go, I spent a day and I looked at every single website for every town that borders Pleasant Valley. We're the only town that doesn't have minutes. Up until about a week ago, they're on official minutes since May. We don't record any of our town board meetings. There's no way that us as residents can actually know what's going on and be a part of this town. Democracy only works if the residents know what's going on and your voices are heard. So I'm standing up here today saying that I will represent you on the town board unpolitically and try to do what's right for you as residents. And I hope to be here and raise a family here. And just growing up here, I think we have a lot of potential and we have a lot of chances for change. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. So what I'd like to do is I have questions that have been submitted in advance, and we'll go, and what I would really ask you to do is I'll call on individuals to answer the questions, but please keep your answers very, very succinct. It is now 5:44. We're going to go until 7 o'clock this evening, and to try to get the information, as much information out as possible. First question that's come up and was actually just alluded to, the many concerns expressed about transparency of the town board and planning board's meeting minutes of the boards have not been published for many months, and what is being done and why has this law not been adhered to? And Mark Figliozzi, I'm going to address that question to you first of all.
The meetings are auto-recorded, and the transcribing of the minutes take place by the town clerk. Town clerk listens to the tapes and also her notes that she has taken during that point in time. That is an issue. It's an issue that we're working with the town clerk's office to help alleviate some of the backlog that she has had. It's a very busy office. It is an issue. We want the minutes out as required by law, and we will make sure it gets done in the future.
Mary Beth, you want to add something to that?
Yes, actually. Yes, I do admit that the minutes were behind schedule, but there is a reason for it. Back in June, I lost my deputy town clerk for 6 weeks. So now I have a brand new clerk in the office, and that just leaves me full-time and a deputy town clerk with just 4 hours of the day. It is a very busy office. We do multiple things throughout the day. And I am not allowed to have my 4-hour deputy work the full day until my clerk was allowed to come back. So that left my office short-staffed, okay? I did put the voice recordings up on the website, but they were taken down by the supervisor. They were taken down because I was told I had no right to put them up. The webmaster contacted me and told me she was forced to take them down. I did speak with Mark in reference to this, and he said I had no right, and that I needed town board approval. I told him there was no malice. This is only intended for people until I can get those minutes up, that people could hear the meeting, because as everyone knows, minutes are not verbatim, okay? It's just a brief summary of what happens throughout the meeting. And I was told no.
Okay, let's leave it there. And Frank, do you want to add anything to that as someone
I'd
who's...
just like to add that I was instructed by the town attorney that the town board needed to vote on putting those minutes up in a recorded fashion.
Okay. Frank, any candidate for
The only
supervisor?
thing I would add, Tom, is that our platform that we run on is for total transparency. We should not have to foil anything. I have a FOIL request in for the unallocated fund balance on October 8th. I filed it with Mary Beth. And to this date, I haven't gotten an answer.
Okay. I'm going to break this up into different groups of questions. A lot has been written with respect to the expansion of the quarry. And it's going to be very difficult as to how to go down, to allocate the time to address these issues. Boy, that's going to be a tough one. Let me start with the two candidates for highway superintendent. Your thoughts about the expansion of the quarry operation, please. Ken, can I start with you?
Sure. To be honest, I have no knowledge of what the quarry is looking to do right now. They're all in their pre-planning stages, and I'd like to find out more about what their intentions are before I make any comments on it. Thank you.
John, do you want to add something to that, please?
Yeah, I would just like to add that I do agree with my opponent, Mr. Luby, about the quarry. The only thing I would like to add is that from a highway superintendent's point of view, be it myself or my opponent, the quarry does show a bit of convenience for us trying to repair the roads and, in an effort to try to keep the cost of our roads down. Other than that, as far as the expansion is concerned, I'd have to look into that in more detail, and I can make a comment on that at a later date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me come back to the candidates for supervisor, please, because this was something that, if my understanding is correct, it may require some rezoning of existing issues. Frank, Susczynski, let me come back to you, please, about your thoughts about quarry expansion, what you've heard from residents.
Okay, the quarry has requested a zoning change for approximately 20 acres of land that is now residential, and they want us to not us, but the planning board to rezone that for quarry. I can tell you this, that it will not be high on my agenda to get this request done, because number one, it's just preliminary right now. There's a quid quo pro swap, if the town board decides to hear this case, then more discussion and more negotiation is gonna have to happen. And like I said, it's not gonna be fast-tracked. It's gonna be totally transparent, and it's gonna take a long time. I don't think we can even get, number one is a recodification committee that's taking place right now. I talked to Rebecca Seaman. She said it would probably take into mid-March to April to get the recodification committee done. We're not gonna do anything until they get done, because they're looking into this swap. They're looking into, actually, there's 3 zoning requests in front of the planning board right now. You have the 106 acres that Herb Brettel has requested. We have the high-density request for Wigston Road, and we have the quarry. It's unprecedented to have these many requests. I don't recall any time, usually these requests don't get passed on to anybody because they're shut down at the planning board level, because it's considered spot zoning.
Mark? Actually, right now, there are no requests, no formal requests in front of the town of Pleasant Valley for any zoning. These 3 issues that were mentioned by Mr. Susczynski have been discussed in preliminary terms, but there's no formal proposal. I believe as an elected official that, especially with the quarry, for example, that there is much to be done. The codification committee was formed by this board. There have been open forums. There has been discussions at least 3 town board meetings with residents there and listening to them, and everybody will be heard. There is a process that has to be carried out, and it is not correct for, in my mind, for a public official to make statements about something before the entire project runs through the course, the experts are heard, the town board may wish to hire other experts to research certain factors about it and make an intelligent decision and the right decision after listening to residents of Pleasant Valley.
Thank you. Are there any candidates for town board who would like to comment about the quarry issue?
Try not to strangle you. So just to, I guess just to go back for a second, there had to be some kind of formal request because documents are on the town website, Mark. Like there's documents about the 3 zoning changes on the town website. So there had to be some kind of formal something submitted to put them there, because we've just learned that you are the webmaster that controls what does and does not go on the town website. So you pulled down the recordings from the town board meeting minutes. So as far as the quarry is concerned, okay. As far as the quarry is concerned, there's a bit larger issue in my mind here about drinking water and what's safe and what's not safe. So as far as what Frank said, there has to be a long research road ahead of this before anything would change overnight. And I'm with Frank on this, where we would have to take a long, hard look, but it's not the highest on my priority list, like I said earlier. Recreation, making sure that our youth is cared for, and that is higher, much higher on the pecking order chain.
Would anyone else like to weigh in on that? Michael?
I think we all have to ask ourselves what zoning's designed for. What was the point of zoning when it was when communities started using it? In my mind, zoning is to protect us as residents and lay out a plan for the town, a layout. Look at the comprehensive plan for the town. We spent 3 years putting that together back in 2006 and 2009 through 2009. That lays out a pretty clear plan of what the residents of this town wanted. I'm not going to say if I'm against or for the quarry, because there is a lot of information that we don't know yet. But at the end of the day, what's the point of having zoning if we're just going to change zoning at the detriment to the residents that live in Pleasant Valley? What was the point of having the zoning in the first place? So I think zoning, me personally, I'm in favor of zoning. I think it's important, and it protects a lot of our biggest assets, our home. And I just think it's an important part of the community.
Okay, thank you. I want to come to the both town justices,
And I know that... Real quick, I would like to address the document that's up on the website that was referred to, and this is also relating to transparency. That is a document that was provided by Peckham Materials attorneys because there's a concern and there's a statement and there's an issue out there as to whether there is a deed restriction on that property. And it is their legal brief and their supporting documentation regarding that. And I felt it was important to get that up on the website for the public to be able to do.
Okay, thank you. Let me come to the town justice, and I know that you have some limitations as to what you can and cannot speak about, and I just don't know whether everybody is aware of that. But the question I have, we talked about how busy your caseload here is in Pleasant Valley, and the question that I have is that you need to the support staff to adequately fulfill the position.
We're going to share this one. Judge Vasti and I, we make an application to the town board every year. Of course, we could use additional resources. Interestingly enough, there have been significant changes in the law, bail reform and criminal justice reform, passed by the state legislature, which comes into effect on January 1, which will have a significant impact on the court and the procedures that we have to do. These came up candidly, after we had talked about budgeting with the town board. So Judge Vasti and I actually have been emailing back and forth this week, planning to see how are we going to handle it with the limited resources we have. The state has imposed significant changes in its criminal justice reform and bail reform for a variety of reasons, but it is going to have a cost to the town to do that.
And that's really why I asked this question. I mean, folks may not be aware that this is very, very significant change to the bail reform and how cases are handled, and I wanted that out in this forum now because it's something that will really impact this town.
And the both of us, I'm going to let Judge Vasti weigh in on it, but both of us are trying to make sure that the court handles this efficiently and as carefully as we've done, because as someone said, we have a very respected court. Both of us are very well respected by the legal community as well as the judicial community.
So Tom, thank you for the question. We did see some of these changes coming. For the first time in 3 years, I've attended 2 public meetings. Many of you know I waited till the end of one of the quarry meetings in August and brought some of these budget concerns up. The town so far has been responsive. We have allocated a 3rd clerk, although if you've been to the court, I don't know where we're going to put that person. That's really not a joke, because right now that person's going to have to sit in our office. Okay? There is no space, folks. We have 1 chambers, we have a file room that's overflowing. We have 2 clerks who cannot handle the volume except by putting in more time than they should. And they do yeoman's work. So I want to thank the board for at least giving us a part-time position. And I want everyone to know bail reform is a serious issue. The legislature has spoken on it. So, and it's not a cop-out, but there are major changes coming. The overriding presumption that will now govern this state starting January 1st is for Judge Sears and I and every judge out there to impose the least restrictive alternative to bail with an eye towards non-monetary, non-bond issues. So I want all of you to understand these are very, very serious changes, and we also have a further obligation. We must ask which form of notice the defendants in the court want to receive their monthly notices to come to court. Some judges are calling them invitations to show up, okay? That's not a joke, all right? And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, how we implement this, and it's why we needed a 3rd clerk. So I do want to say just one more thing. I have also spoken about the town hall building in the past in front of the board. And folks, getting into that new town hall is an imperative. We have failed every safety audit that exists. It is not safe. Go down there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and have 4 or 5 people outside who want to bail somebody out, and there's you and 1 deputy or 1 sheriff, or 1 state police officer. It's hard to watch. It is somewhat nerve-wracking. But more so, go look at the ladies in the court who have no means of protection for who walks in off the street. Most people are nice, but the criminals that are coming in and their friends are not. We absolutely need new facilities. The board has been phenomenal in getting that done. I encourage you, I beg you, make sure we get into that new building.
Tom?
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we spent a couple of extra minutes on that because this is something that has been off the radar screen for most folks. It is absolutely significant, and both at the justice level and at the county level. Let me go to the county legislators and candidates for legislature and thoughts about the funding of the district attorney's office. Deirdre, do you want to address some of that, please?
Specific to your question, you're asking about the new building that we allocated funds for on Market Street?
Not the building, I'm talking about the impact on the judicial system at the county level. The county district attorney and their staffing are going to have significant changes under this bail reform legislation. And is that something that's been on discussion at the county legislature?
It has been on discussion at the county legislature, DA Tom Angel has come before us and spoken to us a few times about the new bail reform. And I know you're not asking specifically about the building, but we have moved the DA's office out of Market Street because of the more staffing that's going to be required. We are hiring, I believe, 27 new public defenders will be brought in over the next 5 years. So the building was required for all the staff, just as Judge Vasti said that they need new services at Town Hall. The county felt it was very important to move the DA's office as well to give people more privacy and to allow for the staffing. So yes, we have discussed it. We have been talking about finances and how it will impact the county budget.
And Wendy McCarthy, as a candidate for that position, would you like to add anything to what was said?
I'm not up on all that information as of yet.
Okay. And let me come to Ranald Adams. Anything that you would add to that with respect to the county involvement?
Sorry.
So I think that the fiscal impact of bail reform is an important thing to consider. That being said, I think it's also important to consider the human impact of changing the criminal justice system. Yes, there are going to be fiscal costs, but one of the things that bail reform means is that people who don't necessarily need to be in jail, who we're paying for them to be in jail, to be housed, fed, clothed, guarded, people who don't need to be in jail, who are there because they can't afford to make bail, won't be there. And there will be savings that come from not jailing people who don't need to be in jail, who are there because they can't make bail. They can't afford it.
Don Sagliano?
Thank you, Tom. To speak to the question about funding for the district attorney's office with regards to the impact on the bail reform that's going to occur in the first of the year, we will be starting next week evaluating the 2020 budget. So those numbers will be fresh and will be right in front of us as we get going on Thursday, November 7th will be the first public hearing of the county executive's budget, and then it will go through budget review. And to further that, part of the bail reform that we've been looking at is that it's going to reduce the future size of the new county jail that's been authorized for construction 4 years ago. It's through its final design phase. We were waiting until the bail reform took effect so that the New York State Commission on Corrections, who actually tells the county how big the jail has to be, will opine on that. So that is all to be determined.
Okay, thank you. I want to come to the issue of recreation. That's been in a number of the questions that were submitted. What I'd like to do, I think the best way to handle this, and I would ask you to keep it very, very tight, perhaps even limit it only to 1 minute, is the candidates for town board. If you could just go right down the line, and starting with you, Mary, and quick thoughts about what we need to do for recreation facilities here in the town of Pleasant Valley, please.
Well, we have Helen Aldridge, we have Baker Field, we have Field 2, we have the Katie Field. Did I get them all? Bauer Park, excuse me. Okay, so Baker Field cannot be used right now. It is really a hot mess. But the Helen Aldridge Park, I have spent a couple of different times up there, very displeased with the way it looks. Our pavilion up there is in great need of repair. The building is done, but I'm not sure if the electric might be done now, I'm not sure. There's a lot of work to be done outside there. Pleasant Valley, Katie Field.
Mary, we'll leave it right there. We'll just go right down the line.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
fine. Michael? Hopefully nobody gets hung up. Don't worry.
Growing up here in Pleasant Valley, once you hit about middle school and you're too old for Huck Finn Day or the Easter Bunny, as a kid in middle school or high school, this town really does not offer anything for you. It was very difficult, and I love this town. It was very difficult for me to convince my wife and myself to come move back into Pleasant Valley from Fishkill. We looked at other houses in other towns, and towns offer so much more for adults, for kids, for seniors. Go down to Wappingers on any day and look at the seniors programs that are going on. There's seniors in all different rooms doing stuff. Not saying we're at that point yet in Pleasant Valley. We don't have the space for that, but with the new town hall and moving, we have that potential. And it's not going to happen overnight, but we need to set up a plan, realize we have this issue, maintain our current facilities, and reinvest in the people. We take tax money. What do we get as residents besides our roads being plowed if you live on a town road?
Thanks, Michael. We'll leave it right there. Steve?
Yes, hi. It's important to me to work with, we have some really fantastic people, Tracy Santiago, our soccer director, and Ray Houston, our basketball director, to help them to improve the programs that they already have, to create programs that are exciting for young kids. We just have a new soccer program for 3-year-olds to come in and to become excited about soccer, which I am excited about as well. I want to work on and build on those programs. I also want to form a committee to work with our director to make our programs better, to make sure our equipment is safe, and also to start our own local Think Differently campaign in Pleasant Valley to make sure that our programs are there for children with special needs, as well as for any of the individuals in our town with special needs.
Thank you. Susan?
Hi. So I was on the recreation committee a couple of years ago, and our plan was disregarded by the town board. It was an effective plan that we did a lot of research on, but it was a bipartisan issue, and that needs to be taken out of the equation at this level. Recreation program needs to be reviewed. We need to look at, for instance, the summer program. Hyde Park has an amazing summer program that you can actually leave your children there and go to work. Pleasant Valley's program is you have to pick your children up at 2 o'clock. That's not feasible. Let's be realistic. Let's look at Ranald Park. It's the white elephant. Let's see what we can do. Let's take politics out of the recreation. Look at a plan for families. Look at something other than just sports. Sports are a great event, but let's look at other programs. Let's do a complete review of the recreation fund program, the money the builders put into the plan, to the fund. Let's look at that closely.
Thank you. Keith?
Okay, actually, personally, Ranald Park has been a thorn in my side for a long time. You know, and I raised 2 daughters here, and I agree, there could have been and should be much better facilities for them. Ranald Park, as I said, is a big one, but referendums were brought to the voters twice to improve Ranald Park and develop it, and twice the voters shot it down. Because Everybody wants Rettle Park, everybody wants the other parks improved, but they don't want to pay for it. So what are the alternatives? Okay, we have to look for grants, because apparently that's the only way that it's going to get done.
Thanks, Keith. Frank?
As being a parent and having a unique situation of being able to have my son hang out in my shop when he's not in school, I look at other parents and realize that, early drop-off and late pickup from summer camp is prime. And I understand as a parent that's an extra cost incurred by me, not by the rest of the town. I've said this for years. Other towns do it. I still don't. I mean, I've gotten an answer why we don't do it, but with the renovation of Rettle Park, through grants, through private donations from outside sources, I think we could make that work. I think we could really, those two items alone, I think would bump recreation in this town up so much that it wouldn't be such a question whether or not families my age would want to move here and live here.
Thank you.
I might.
Who can answer the question about how much money is currently in the recreation fund?
If I might first, and I'll address that. The board did discuss at their last meeting extending hours. The difficulty is that we don't have the facility, so we use West Road School, and there's restrictions there. If certain things happen next year, we will be able to extend hours. If they don't, then we won't be allowed to extend those hours in that school by the Arlington Central School District. As far as the recreation fund, reserve funds are set up by the function of reserve funds is set up by New York State. All right, reserve funds that are for recreation purposes, with the money that comes from the subdivision of land and from the builders, is restricted to new construction or reconstruction. Cannot be used for maintenance, cannot be used for programs, cannot be used for supplies.
Understood.
All right, so
10 seconds.
that is another limitation that we have, but we're going to work through that.
Do you know how much money is available in that fund?
There's two different funds. I believe it's between $500,000 and $600,000.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. What I'd like to do is I'm trying to get everybody into the conversation here. Many of the questions that I have worded in various ways have to do with individuals, I guess I would call it the overall vision for the town of Pleasant Valley. And of course, as I think about it, the town of Pleasant Valley comes right along Route 44, over near Arnold Moving and Storage, commercial areas. It's a very diverse town in terms of along the major highway, the back roads, still a lot of agriculture in this town. And what I'd like to do, and maybe Frank will work this backward, I'd like to hear from members of the town board in terms of, and let's see, we got 6 people here, maybe minute 30 seconds each. Frank, your overall vision in terms of how you would like to see this town developed over the next 5 or 10 years. Paint a picture for me.
The immediate picture that pops into my mind is a town full of small businesses with foot traffic, people shopping, families of all ages living here with activities. I think it's a simple picture to paint. It's a lot of work to get it there. And I've said it all along that I'm willing to put in that work. We need to fill the empty storefronts. Like I said, my wife and I opened the print shop, and we are willing to help out in any way we can to the fire department, to other organizations, just to get them off the ground so we have things to do in this town. I think that it's imperative that we have to figure out where the cart and horse situation. We don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we need to fill empty storefronts. We need to bring families. You look in the Stroll Through Pleasant Valley's Facebook page, right? You see old pictures of Main Street filled with shops and parking, and that is what, every time I think of Pleasant Valley, that's what Pleasant Valley could be.
Thank you. And let me emphasize also, we have the Hamlet area here of Pleasant Valley right here. We have the Washington Hollow area, Salt Point, and I think a lot of folks don't understand, really where the boundaries all the way up on Quaker Lane and over to parts of Rusky. Keith, paint a picture for us.
Well, I would like to see the hamlet revitalized, and that is starting to happen. Unfortunately, one of the big jam-ups with that is the water situation. I'm not going to waste my time going into that, but I do want to see a revitalization of the hamlet. I do want to see more business back in the hamlet. And at the same time, you know, contrary to what some people think, as a Republican, no, I do not want to see Walmart out on Route 44, okay? I want to see the outlying areas keep the rural character. And I would, because I grew up hunting and fishing. I am a conservationist, I'm an outdoorsman, and I personally just love being out in the woods. I would actually like to see more land go into conservancy over the next few years. And I do want the town to keep its basic rural character.
Thank you. Susan?
So I think Pleasant Valley is a great place. You know, I'm a nurse, I can work any place in the United States. I choose to live and work here. I chose to raise my family here. But I think we do need to have a 5-year plan. And I would like to see, we need to discuss with our residents what they would like to see as well. We need to keep our rural aspects and our rural look, but we need to bring businesses in. We need to have incentives for them to come in and not just be businesses, but to protect and preserve and come along with the valleys, with the picture of Pleasant Valley, that we can have families involvement in stores that are vibrant and places to go and things to do. And I think that as the town board, we do need to look for grants for that. We need to make sure that when their new construction comes in, then they put sidewalks in so people can walk into town. I think we need to make Pleasant Valley, we need to protect and preserve our resources and bring programs and businesses into here. And I think we can do that.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes. Well, what I think is vital to revitalizing the town is revitalizing the town center itself. An important aspect of that is bringing water in. Without getting into the details of the water plan, we do have, the town board currently does have a plan to bring water in that's cost effective, and that, I mean, just speaking yesterday to residents and to small business owners who were told that they could not bring a small business into town because the Department of Health would not let them because of the water situation. The water is contaminated in the wells that is in the town center. We need to make sure that we bring water in, that our plan is to connect to the pipe in the town of Poughkeepsie, and within 2 years, we would have pipes in the ground. Not a pipe dream, but pipes in the ground. And it's my hope that as a member of the town board that I can make that a reality. I think it's very important to revitalizing this town center, to bring businesses, to make it attractive, to want our young people to want to come in and create business or start businesses within our town, to make sure that we have an opportunity and create opportunities for them so that they want to stay here, that they want to start a business, and that they want to make this town better for all of us. And I think the water is vital to that. I also think that improving the facades, right now the town, it's a mishmash of different things, and a facade program we have applied for grants so far. We failed in providing for grants. They've been rejected, but we are reapplying for grants to improve the facades with the town.
Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
My view for the town is
We've been here a while, and I haven't heard any specifics. If somebody's talking about bringing a business into town, can somebody just tell me one idea of one business that it might be? Or just what you might do for recreation instead of improving a park, something specific? A dog park, a rec center in the old town hall.
Got it.
Please be specific.
Got it.
I'm sorry.
Michael?
I'll be pretty specific about my view for the town. Everybody, if you haven't looked at the comprehensive plan that's hidden on the town website, go in the search bar, type comprehensive plan. There's a 100-something page document on there from 2006 to 2009 that we already listened to the residents. We already did a survey. Here we are almost 11 years later, and we haven't done anything to revitalize our hamlets, to make it walkable, to attract local businesses. So we've already surveyed the residents. The town government knows what we want. We just haven't done anything with that information. I'm all for conserving land outside the hamlets. It's in the comprehensive plan to do that. I think that's what makes Pleasant Valley special, is that we do still have open space. Growing up as a fisherman, I think the creek, we underutilize that. We don't make it as publicly available that we have opportunities to go fishing and utilize the creek. And I think while we're talking about the water, I believe that the town should be looking at other opportunities like sidewalks and stuff like that. If we're going to dig up the road to put pipes in, we should be looking at these other projects so we don't have to do this over and over and over again and save taxpayers money.
Thank you. Mary?
Actually, I believe that the sidewalks are included in on that, the water deal, just so that you know that. I completely agree with him about the comprehensive plan. I think everybody should be looking that over and working on it. One of the things that I said in the opening is that I think that a lot of these projects are going to need help from the outside. So committees need to be started for specific programs or projects that we want to do, and we just absolutely need to use and utilize the talents of you people, of all the people in the town, in order to get done what we really need to accomplish.
Thank you. I want to come back to the point that was raised back here. I want to come back to the two candidates for supervisor in terms of if you can each take a minute and a half, and Mark, we'll start with you. Offer a very specific, couple of very specific ideas to improve the quality of life features that we're talking about.
Okay, there's two areas I'd like to, what you were talking about here and that. As far as Rattle Park, one of the difficulties we have as a town, it was mentioned before, is that you can build it, but then you need money to maintain it. Vision for Rattle Park that has been preliminary discussions with some engineers that are assisting us. One of them lives in Pleasant Valley and is doing some pro bono work for us, is to put in features that can be done as free features, but that could also bring in revenues to support the town. Rattle Park is extremely topographical. Okay, it's a very expensive park to work in. So how about a band shell at the bottom of a hill where free concerts can be done, and all access playground for children that are mentally and physically handicapped and those that are fortunate enough not to be. I think of the time when I was a kid and you played on the swings when you went to the drive-in and you fell asleep in the car and your parents enjoyed the movie. Same type of thing with the concert tour. You can bring in a promoter and you get money off the top from that promoter from him doing a pay-for concert. Also a jogging, walking, exercise trail type thing in that park. Very inexpensive to do. It uses the existing features. You're not disturbing the vernal pools and the other natural elements that are in that park that we want to preserve. How about a pavilion, an all-access pavilion, and a pavilion that has a full commercial kitchen and a wet bar, sort of like what Town LaGrange has. You can rent that out for weddings, bar mitzvahs, parties, and other features can happen.
Thank you. I got to turn it over. Thank you. Frank?
I'd like to see...
Turn your mic on.
I'd like to see more development in Bower Park. We have, years ago, Dick Germiller, who was a surveyor, engineer, I think he became an attorney at the end, very smart individual, had a plan for Bower Park for a swimming area. Now my question is, if the town of Clinton, which is like half the size of Pleasant Valley, has a swimming area, namely Franmark Park, why can't we have one? And I think we could do it. And Bower Park is much more conducive to development than Rattle Park. And it's walkable for the Village Park Apartments, for the North Avenue. I think it's a better deal to develop Bower Park than Rattle Park. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Now, believe it or
we cannot use creek water. I sit on the Wappingers Intermunicipal Council. I'm also a co-chair. This is the group that is working very hard to correct the issues with the Wappingers Creek. You cannot swim in the Wappingers Creek. I will not tell you what's in that Wappingers Creek, but you cannot swim in that Wappingers Creek.
So, believe it or not, it's 6:25 at this point in time, and we are scheduled to go until 7 o'clock. There are 17 people here who each have 2 minutes to wrap it up. If I've done my math correctly, if we start right now, we'll go down the line. I know there are many other topics of conversation that we all would have loved to have taken a deeper dive in. I just want to point out very quickly, this is the first time that this kind of event has been done to my knowledge. I want to thank everyone for doing it. And again, in terms of keeping it, figuring out how to do it even broader in the future, that will certainly be worked on. Let me see. So we're gonna work this backward. Michael Rifenburgh, 2 minutes.
I want to start off by thanking everybody for taking the time out of your Sunday to come out. This is great. I'm a big fan of This Is How Government Works, is hearing from you and getting different perspectives and different views to allow your people that you will elect on Tuesday
to be your voice. I'm going to stay afterwards. I know there wasn't that many questions that we could possibly get through, all 17 of us here, so if anybody has any specific questions, please, I'll stay here till everybody gets their questions answered. I hope on Tuesday that you guys will go out and vote for a group of people that you think will work together, who will represent you, who will put politics aside, and will do what's right for this town that we all care so much about. We have amazing people that make up this town, and we have so much potential, and I thank you guys again for coming out.
Thank you. To the point that the facility is going to be available till 7:30 this evening. If individuals want to stay, candidates and residents, to ask specific questions. So as I say, we've agreed that the facility will be available until 7:30 this evening, but the formal program is going to close at 7 o'clock. John Baxter, please.
Once again, I'd also like to thank everybody for coming, listen to all of our spiels. In closing, my main concern for highway superintendent is taking care of our 70 miles of roads, 800 plus storm basins we have to take care of, the 19 pieces of equipment that we have to drive around every day. Make sure that my 9 full-time employees and my 3 part-timers are taken care of on a daily basis, and what needs to happen. Making sure your roads are clean, salted and sanded, and then again, once a year I have to go back and pick up all that salt and sand. But that's a whole nother problem. I hope what you heard tonight opened up your eyes, and you'll understand why I'm the best candidate for highway superintendent. And once again, I'd like to thank you for coming, and don't forget to vote November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Well, again, I'm David Sears. Thank you to the Pleasant Valley Community Network for hosting this. It was a great idea. As I said in the beginning, it's going to be a privilege to serve another 4 years. We've had some very interesting changes in the law over the last year. I think the town is lucky to have 2 experienced judges so that we're dealing with these changes in an efficient manner. It really is, I'm not opposed. Judge Vasti's not opposed. I've been door to door. I might have seen some of you. I can only do this every 4 years. And it's a great time to go door to door. Even when I go to somebody's door and he said, yes, Judge, my wife is in front of you with a traffic ticket. And I'm going, uh-oh, this is not going to be good. But he goes, you were firm, but you needed to be. And yes, I may be firm, but I'm fair. I try to be that. I know Judge Vasti does. We run a very efficient court. We are overwhelmed with the work here. I've been on the bench 8 years, and I can tell you it's almost 3 times the volume that it was 8 years ago. We're fortunate that we had in these changes that are coming about and have come about, whether it's been landlord-tenant, criminal justice reform, or bail reform, and who knows what's coming. We have experienced judges here that you can trust and reach out to and talk to, even when I can only talk every 4 years. But if you see me in the hardware store, say hi. Thanks.
Thank you. Mary?
I agree with Frank and Michael about our recreation and what needs to be done. I agree with Sue on the videotaping, which I would like to see start as of the new year if possible. I was brought up in this town. I've been here my whole life. I was only not here for a couple of years. We always had this wonderful feeling in this town, and Sue might have been here with the bicentennial. We had the hoops. We had wear the dresses with the hoops. Yeah. I try to wipe that from our memory banks, but it was always together. It was a lot of fun. We did all of these things together as a town. Right now, I don't see that as much. We're not getting the turnout for Pleasant Valley weekend. All everybody does is bitch and complain, okay? You gotta be involved in order to bitch and complain, okay? That's what I would really like to see from everybody in the town. We cannot do, no matter what's going on the board, we cannot do this alone. It has to be with other heads. And like I said, we have a lot of talented people in Pleasant Valley that can step up to the plate and give us this kind of help. And thanks a lot for coming tonight, because this is not, I'm sure, what you want to do on a Sunday night.
Thank you. Go to the other end of the table, Wendy McCarthy.
I feel that as a lifelong resident of this county, I understand the needs of the community. I work and live here, I raised my family here, and my work experience, I feel, requires decision-making and diplomacy, patience, and the ability to adapt to changes and problem resolutions. I'm a trusted and respected employee and a good listener, and I look forward to serving this community I love.
Very good. Deirdre?
Thank you. I just again want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It's greatly appreciated to hear everyone's questions and get them answered to the best of our ability. As I reflect on the next few months as your county legislator on the 2020 budget process, I think about the hard decisions we have to make as county legislators and the time and effort it takes. And what I reflect upon is this position is not an entry-level position. You want someone in this position who has experience, who's dealt with budgets, who's dealt with big issues. And I can tell you that I have done that. I served for 5.5 years as an elected member of the Millbrook Central School District Board of Education. In that capacity, I worked on the audit committee and dealt with some big financial numbers and working on budgets. And the county is not an entry-level position. You want someone with experience who is willing to work with everybody in the legislature, bipartisan, to do what's best for the county and most specifically the residents of Pleasant Valley. As you head to the polls on Tuesday, I hope that you will vote for me and realize that a vote for me is a vote for experience. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Don Sagliano.
Thank you. I would just like to commend all the members that are here at the table with us. It takes a lot to put your hat in the ring to run for office. It really does. It's a lot of work, a lot of energy. Thankfully, I know I have a good spouse who gives me as much freedom as I need, so I'd like to thank her. But what I would like to speak to, when I'm at the county legislature representing Pleasant Valley, to me, Pleasant Valley is the center of Dutchess County. It is the center of what happens in Dutchess County. I fight for the people I represent here in Pleasant Valley, as well as the town of Poughkeepsie. So, to speak of that, we have hard decisions to make. We're reviewing a $500 million budget coming up over the next few weeks. It is imperative that we look at every line item and discuss every line item in full. And we have a very excellent working relationship with the other members of the legislature. In closing, thank you all for coming here tonight. I appreciate the time and energy you put in. Stay involved. We need people involved. Many times we've had meetings, public meetings, where there's 2 people, 3 people at the meetings, town board meetings, county legislative meetings, planning board meetings, zoning board meetings, fire advisory board meetings. There's plenty of meetings. Get involved. Thank you for your time, and I look for your support on November 5th.
Thank you. Keith O'Hanlon?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And the first thing I'd like to say is, it's nice to be at one of these things where I actually didn't see any real hostility in the room, because it seems like this last year, Pleasant Valley board meetings, informational hearings, everything, this whole political campaign, I feel like I'm back in a combat zone. And I don't want to feel that way. I really don't. I want to think that my wars are over. And I want to say that no matter how the chips fall on Tuesday, if I'm elected and I'm sitting with a whole bunch of people from the other side of the aisle, I will always reach across the aisle and work with the other councilmen, women, supervisor to do what is right for you folks. And I want to add that, you know, doing what's right is not always what's popular. And I figure if I'm sitting in that board seat, yeah, chances are good half the town's gonna hate me. I'm not looking forward to that, but I am looking forward to continuing to serve. I guess an old Marine is, I don't know, he's always looking to serve some way or other. And I guess that about wraps it up. I want to thank you, and I hope you'll consider me on November 5th. God bless you all.
Thank you. Steve Latino.
I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to also thank the Pleasant Valley Community Network for creating this opportunity for all of us. I agree with Keith here that this was nice to have, and Don, to have everybody out, to hear from all the candidates, to give you an opportunity to hear what all of us are all about. It's important for you to be involved and to know everything you can about your candidates to make an informed vote. I hope that you've heard things that you've liked from each of us. And we all probably have a little bit different way about going about our business or the things that we want to accomplish. But I think we're all standing up here because we all want to do what's in the best interest of our town, even if it's we may not have the same ideas or how to get there. And I can promise you that I love this town, and I will do everything in my power to move this town forward, whether it's with the water plan or the new town hall, making improvements in recreation, and making sure that as a town board, we are working in the best interest of all of our community members. So I hope that I'm given that opportunity. You can find me on the Republican and conservative lines. And I thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you. Susan Tucker.
Okay, thanks. So again, thank you all for coming out tonight. So when I look at what I initially talked about, you know, really and truthfully, there should be no line here. This is Pleasant Valley. It shouldn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. It shouldn't matter what we're doing and our passions for the town. You know, I'm a Democrat. That's always an underdog here in this town because it's a Republican town, and I get that. But I throw my hat in the ring anyway because I think that I can be very effective. I think that we need to be fiscally responsible. I think that this town board should never, ever go over the cap. We all lost our star rebates. That's not acceptable. Every time I go into the town board meeting, I'm not given an opportunity to speak. The structure has to be changed. It has to be changed. You go to the workshop meetings, you can't speak. You go to the town meeting the next week, the first part of the meeting, they vote on what they talked about the previous meeting where you had no say. And then they open it up again. You know, I feel like we have no say, and that has to change. That's a big priority. In addition, we should be transparent. I should not be denied FOIL requests. No one should be. I shouldn't even have to FOIL it. And that's what happens with this present town board and this present supervisor. So I think that we need to look at bringing businesses in, take that $500,000 in the recreation fund, build a pavilion, build something out in the Salt Point Park so that we can have daycare programs that are effective and look at our family planning here. So I just would like a fair, equal chance at this and promise you that I'm honest, that I'm transparent, and that I'm respectful whether we agree or disagree, and I always get the job done. So please vote for me on the 5th.
Thank you very much. Mary Beth.
Hi, yes. So I just wanted to state that my deputy Kathy and I, we serve on 2 committees in the town. We serve on Pleasant Valley Weekend and we serve on Festival of Lights. And there's so many inspirational and selfless people in this community who put their heart and soul into volunteering. And we are very proud to serve with all of these volunteers. I love my job. I love serving this community. Our door is always open. I just ask that if you have any questions or concerns, to please reach out, email, phone, coming into the office. Please come in to ask. there was a saying I saw yesterday that I think is pretty powerful. I'd like to read. It says, leaders are defined as people who have influence on the lives of others. This includes you. You are a leader. You have influence on someone, whether you are a CEO or an intern, someone's parent or someone's child. In one way or another, you lead with your actions. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And I thank everybody very much for coming tonight. Take care.
Thank you very much. Ranald Adams, please.
So, thank you again, all of you, for coming. Thank you to PVCN for hosting this wonderful event. I'm going to begin by saying something that no self-respecting politician should say. Don, you're right. Pleasant Valley really is at the center of Dutchess County in a lot of ways. A lot of the divides that characterize this moment in history, rural versus urban, problems with youth and economics and the opioid crisis, all of these different issues happen right here amongst us and impact us in our day-to-day lives. This election is an opportunity to boldly take these 21st century problems and fix them with 21st century solutions. Not just muddling through and going along to get along, but to say, it's time. It's time that we take them seriously. It's time that we take the future seriously and we endorse change. Thank you so much, and I hope that you'll vote for me this Tuesday for District 2.
Thank you. Frank Mazzella.
So I want to start with thanking you all again for coming out, wasting, or not wasting, but I mean, hearing me speak might be wasting, I don't know. But thank you all for coming, and to be honest with you, good luck to everybody. It does take a lot, like Don said, it does take a lot to run. My wife looks at me with those eyes of the thankless nights and the long hours of knocking on doors, and I know I spent a lot of time away from you, Kenny, so I apologize, but soon it'll all be over. One of the glories of what I've always said I was running for was that I don't have all the answers, but I will help you find them. My door is always open. I mean, like, by a show of hands, how many people just stop by my shop for a chat, Mr. Bill Geerlings? So my shop is always open. If you ever needed to find me, I'm in the Acme Plaza. Like, stop by for a cup of coffee if we have it, or just to say hi. I will help you find an answer. I will work for you. I will be your voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Luby.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out here this evening. The Pleasant Valley Community Network putting this event on. I have experience with dealing with men. I had 26 employees under me down at Efron Fuel. I managed the storage facility. I managed a fleet of 72 vehicles. I currently employed with Bonded Concrete right now. I started there 5 years ago, knew nothing about concrete. Listened to the other employees there, talked to the boss, gave me the hints. Now I'm one of his top drivers at Bonded Concrete. I like to listen to the employees. As highway superintendent, I would be the one to get the equipment necessary and give the men time to do their job, to maintain the roads, keep them safe for all the Pleasant Valley residents. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Please come out and vote November 5th. Everybody's vote does make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to change the order a little bit. Tom Vasti.
So thank you again, everyone. Many people here, outstanding job. Congratulations to all. I wish you all good luck on Tuesday the 5th. To everyone that came, thank you. This process doesn't start and stop here. Many people have called upon everyone to get involved. Please do. At the end of the month, middle to the end of the month, there's going to be a final budget hearing, the enactment of the budget for this town. Get the budget, see what's in it, take a good look, okay? I ask all of you to consider also when Judge Sears and I talked, we don't get to talk about political issues, but one of the things that you may find very revealing about the budget of our town court is right now, the budget is $130,000, I think $132,000 to run the town court. Judge Sears and I now oversee the department that is expected to bring in about $750,000 in revenue, and $450,000+ of that comes to the town. We've asked for a $90,000 increase, so I think we've got about 40 or so approved. I might be wrong by 5 or 10,000. These are very serious numbers, but one that the people who work in the court have given back to this community by hard work. Last thing I would like to say is, policy matters. Many of you are running for a very serious policy position. Remember, when law enforcement left and a void opened, it got filled, and that's why your court is as busy as it is. Put money back into law enforcement, get back to looking through the stores, get people back on the street. The crime will go down, you can lower your court budget. But right now, you have a serious policy issue ahead, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I mean that because you all sounded so sincere and wonderful tonight.
Thanks.
Good luck all.
Thank you. Mark Figliozzi.
And again, thank you to the organizers. Support is terrible. Thank you to the organizers and for all of you for coming out tonight.
Let me just say that we are ahead of schedule because some people take their time. So if you want to take 3 minutes instead of 2.
I'd like to fill in some of the gaps and some of the things that were said, yes. I think first it's very important to be involved in many areas when you're running a town. I mentioned about my involvement with the Wappingers Intermunicipal Council. I am also on the Transportation Council of Dutchess County. I am also part of the Climate Smart Community Advisory Committee, and I chair a subcommittee of that. I'm also on the Grant Approval Committee for the county. And these things help us all network with the people that need to help us. This is how we've gotten items from the Department of Transportation. It was mentioned about sidewalks. We have applied for a grant for sidewalks up West Road. We didn't get it. We're going to apply again next year. However, with my involvement with the county, we were able to get the county to provide us with a sidewalk study. It's almost 100 pages. It's up on the website. As far as redevelopment of the hamlet, you know, in 2017, we had Pace University come in and help us with a revitalization plan for that. That's also up on the website. We also did a survey of the citizens. We did a survey of all the boards, and they surveyed all of the shop owners. So we have an idea of where to go, and we have professionals that can help us. And I was very proud to be able to get the county to pay for that. You'll find out I love getting other people to pay for things for us. Okay? With that said, I really enjoy what I do. I love this town. I work very hard. It is a wonderful town to be in. We have laid the groundwork for so many things to happen. It takes time. I said before, I think part of the problem was for 14 years, you didn't have any continuity in the supervisor's seat. It changed over and over again. I was the first supervisor in 16 years to be reelected. I'm asking for that again. I have an open door policy. I have seen hundreds of you people come into my office. Stop what I'm doing to speak with you. It's the most important thing we can do is to listen to what people are saying. And that's what I was alluding to earlier regarding the quarry situation. We need to listen. We need to put the groups together. We need to talk to the experts. And we need to make the right decision for the residents of Pleasant Valley. And that's what it's about. I sat with Judge Vasti last night talking to him about the court. He explained to me the situation. We're very concerned about that. We'll be sitting with both judges to review what they feel is needed moving forward so that our court can operate efficiently and properly and also stay within the law. Because if I'm correct, Judge Vasti and Judge Sears, there's some very serious time limits involved with this and there could be some repercussions. So we don't want to have a problem. This is something very new and we need to act on it immediately. I thank you again. I am humbled and honored to be your supervisor, and I really would appreciate your vote this year. I I think it's critical this year with all the things we have going.
Time. Thank you. Frank Susczynski.
I'll be glad when this is over. This thing.
I know, sorry. I keep turning it off.
I'll be glad when this is over. I'm tired of putting up my signs that get blown over every windstorm we have. For those of you who don't know my history, I was born in Mineola, Long Island, and I moved here when we went to a Beth Page Elementary with 25 or so kids in a class. I moved up here when I was 7. Went to a one-room school in Salt Point, which is the Helen Aldrich Park. We had no running water. We had outhouses. So I've lived here for 65 years. I live on my father's farm, which we still farm. And I have my grandkids next to me, and I would like to see them offered the opportunity that I was when I grew up. The one thing that I offer is total transparency. You're not going to have to use the Freedom of Information Act to get information from me. You come down to the town hall, I'm going to access it and give it to you immediately. I consider my candidacy to be, you are the boss. I have 10,000 bosses in Pleasant Valley, namely the residents. And I will continue to talk and listen, and together I think we can make Pleasant Valley a pleasant place to live and work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Laura, Pleasant Valley Network, I really want to thank you for putting this event together. And as I said earlier, the facility is going to be available until 7:30 this evening for those individuals and candidates who want to stay to answer any questions. But again, November 5th, Election Day, and if I'm not mistaken, they serve some mighty good food here on Election Day for both lunch and dinner. And of course, in our family, I think it's been a tradition for the last 36 years or so to come and enjoy, the roast beef and ham dinners. And thank you very much.
And Tom, remind people
Hold one quick second. Say again.
Remind people there's campaign literature over there.
Okay, campaign literature along that wall, along that long table. Good. Thank you very much for everyone coming out.